Whether you realize it or not, there are hierarchies everywhere we look. Try to remember the last time you were at a playground. There are always the kids who think that they're the boss of everyone. They hog all the best toys and push others off the swing so they can have a turn themselves. Then there are the kids who try to avoid trouble, the goody two-shoes who don't like to get in the way of everybody else. And lastly, there's always that one kid who is alone, no friends. You always think you should walk up to him, but never do, because it would be unthinkable. And the parents at the side do not say or do anything about the way their children act. Nobody tries to stop them misbehaving. And now, looking at the scene from a distance, you come to realize that this is where it all begins. From a hierarchy on the playground to some of the most corrupt, unfair, and biased forms of government. More specifically, the United Nations. But before I get into details, let me give you some background information. For those of you who don't know, the United Nations is an organization that was made on January 1st, 1942. On that day, 26 countries signed a declaration vowing to keep international peace. And since then, there are 192 countries included in the Union. In 1 year alone, they have fed over 104 million people in 80 different countries worldwide. Currently, there are 100,000 peacekeepers set in 16 different peacekeeping missions all around the world. But it is not all fun and games in the United Nations. To get things done and goals achieved, new problems come into play. Primarily, how do we keep moving forward while still keeping a fair system? Because no matter how wrong it seems, some of the biggest decisions in our world are made based off an unfair system and biased voting system. One of the most apparent issues within the United Nations is in the Security Council of this organization. Russia, China, France, the UK, and the United States all have permanent spots within this council. In addition to those 5 permanent countries, there are 10 non-permanent countries who only serve 2-year terms. The 5 permanent countries, Russia, China, the US, UK, and France, all have veto power over any decisions made. Another current issue today that affects the voting process is the Palestine-Israel conflict, where there is obvious bias. Countries like Cuba from South America and Palestine from the Middle East teamed up together to make it nearly impossible to get resolutions that the US or Israel believed in. And it is due to this small conflict between countries that makes the United Nations slower at getting jobs done, as well as more biased. In the global schoolyard, it's the big-name countries like China, France, US, UK, and Russia that are the bullies who don't share their toys. All the other countries just sit around trying to avoid trouble. They kind of go with the flow. And the one outlier, Israel, will never be accepted and always have things counted against him. And we continue to see that time and time again, the United Nations has found a way to be unfair. But I want to stop you right there. Before we start pointing fingers, we have to remember that the United Nations has helped save countless of lives and feed millions of people, like I said before. And now we begin to realize that it's not the UN at fault. Because trust me, they don't wake up every morning and say, let's be unfair and annoy all other countries. The real reason they are unfair is because of us, our families, neighbors, fellow citizens, and just other random people on the street. Because we train our kids that it's okay and you're better than everybody else, that there is a hierarchy in everyday life, just like we saw from the playground from before. And it all starts to make sense. It's because of us that nothing would get done and goals wouldn't be achieved if there was a fair system. It's because of us that if all countries had a say, then all countries would have a different opinion and want only what is best for themselves. Because we are all trained to be selfish and achieve over others and not think about anyone but ourselves. So why do we keep on raising our children like this? Why do we teach them that it is okay for us to compete and try to be better than everyone? Because it's not. It is this that causes all our problems in society today. We are all better than that, and we all deserve a chance. So don't be that kid on the playground who won't share their toys. Let's change what society raises us to be. Let's be the kid who goes up to the one-on-one and says, hey, let's hang out. Who shares the swing. Who is selfless, not selfish. I challenge you, let's change what is written for us and make it better, because the world would be a beautiful place if we did. Thank you.